All right, I'm here with the human vessel for the Halo franchise, Mr. Frank O'Connor. How you doing, sir?
I'm capacious, thank you.
How does it feel being the living embodiment of this hallowed video game franchise? Are you comfortable in that role?
I'd be comfortable as Cortana at this point. Yeah, it's we're nearly done actually. We've got a couple of weeks before we're really done, and then a few weeks of manufacturing, and then it's in people's hands, and they can make up their own minds.
In a lot of ways, Halo 4 kind of represents like the next era for this franchise. And Halo 3 ended with kind of like an open-ended conclusion, but it felt like a good sort of coda for that storyline. Do you feel like you guys are smoothly transitioning people from that sort of like there was kind of a placid, escape capsule drifting off into the forever, and all of a sudden, you're back on the ground shooting stuff again. So do you feel like people are going to get a smooth transition back into the action at the beginning of this game?
Yeah, I think what you just described is very literal chronologically. I mean, the game takes place immediately after the events of Halo 3, with the caveat that there's been 4 years of cryosleep. But I mean, it's just like you went to bed that night and woke up the next morning. So that's kind of, we wanted to feel as familiar as that. Of course, the stuff that happens as soon as you wake up has definitely changed. And you start, as you go through the sort of little bits of plot and combat, and you start asking questions: why am I fighting these guys? What's going on?
In the context of all that, tell me about the importance of the color orange.
I can't go into that for reasons you probably are familiar with at this point.
I've got a sneaking suspicion.
There are blue Prometheans, and there are orange Prometheans, and there are blue buildings and there are orange buildings, and there is a specific reason for some of that.
One of the little behind-the-scenes pieces you guys put out, your art director was talking about kind of like deconstructing and breaking the sort of visual or design language of the Forerunner stuff. Yeah. It's like everybody knows what it looks like. It's very angular with a lot of blue lights and stuff. What was the thinking behind kind of moving away from that visual style that everybody's so used to, and do you feel like people are going to kind of be able to transition to this new stuff?
I think that there is an important piece of context missing from how Kenneth described it, which is he's talking about what Requiem is, which is this world that you explore in previous Halo games and other pieces of the Halo universe, and this will continue again. You're finding relics and artifacts and abandoned structures that are lifeless and dead, and this is what they look like now, 100,000 years later. The whole point of Requiem is that it's a living, breathing, functioning Forerunner space. So one of the first questions we asked is, what does this stuff do? How does it behave, and how does it look when it's inhabited and populated and alive and functioning? And we one of the things we decided early on is that it has to be recognizable. When you look at some of the objects that are towering over the landscapes, and you're like, yeah, that's Forerunner. I get it's the Forerunner aesthetic, but everything is alive now, and everything is literally lit up from inside and full of energy and sort of menace and mystery and all that stuff.
So I mean, for people who are really invested in the Halo fiction, Prometheans equals Forerunners, or does it go deeper than that?
It does go deeper than that. I can't really get into it, but absolutely you're fighting effectively Forerunner warriors, but there's a little bit more to the story that will be revealed in the campaign.
Okay. So the series obviously is pretty well known for some crazy ass weapons. The Needler is a good example, fuel rod, cannon, like lots of weird stuff in the arsenal there. And you have this whole new faction that you have to arm in this game. Was it hard to come up with a bunch of new ideas for weird new weapons, given everything that's already come before?
Some of it is, we need and light rifle is a good equivalent. Like, what would a Forerunner infantry weapon be like? Well, it would be better, right? So, in the simple version of that is that it's half BR, half DMR. What would the Forerunner equivalent of a shotgun be? And we have the scatter shot. So in each of the instances where we've repeated the basic function of a weapon, we've changed it up a little bit. And the light rifle, of course, serves dual purpose, and it fits between those two roles nicely. And the scatter shot allows you to bank shots very effectively. It's not just a small part of it. It's a really important part of how you actually use that weapon. And as you get better and better at it, you'll start to find out that there's a different skill curve on the Forerunner weapons that isn't just about their basic functionality, but it's about sometimes their secondary functionality and sometimes their role specific purpose. But ultimately we had to make the sandbox familiar, at least, so that people can pick things up. And I hope when you were playing through, especially campaign, you'll pick up a weapon and you're able to experiment with it very quickly on the fly just before something comes and attacks you, and figure out roughly how to use it. I was watching one of the guys earlier do that exact same thing with the bolt pistol, the bolt shot, and he didn't realize that you could charge it like a shotgun until his second encounter, but it was nice to watch people kind of muddle through that really quickly and reflexively based on their prior experience with Halo.
As a new studio, this is your first Halo game. Obviously, you've been on others, but from kind of just the code base level, did you guys take any of the work that Bungie had previously done to build on, just in pursuit of maintaining like the feel of the movement and the enemy behavior and the weapons? Like, was it like an iterative effort in that sense?
If a Bungie engineer came and looked at the engine now, he'd see that almost every single system has been tinkered with, rewritten, rebuilt from the ground up, blah blah blah. But he would absolutely know his way around it because at the core of it is the Halo engine, and some of that is the sheer flexibility and scale and power of that engine. I mean, it's underutilized in a sense in that only Halo games are using it, right? And there's been a lot of work done, especially in terms of graphics, to really update things. But a lot of stuff was really strong to begin with, and we're really lucky to have had that legacy because it solves so many things right off the bat that new franchises have to solve for through invention. And we were very lucky. It was very luxurious to be able to say, okay, our basic gunplay mechanic exists, is solved for, and is what much loved, right? We didn't have to solve for that. I think if you were building a new studio and a new franchise, you would have to solve for the technology part, the feel, the everything. So we've been very, very lucky in that regard. But it's absolutely a sort of continuation of the Halo engine. It's probably the biggest recalibration of that engine since we moved to PowerPC cores on the 360. But ultimately, there's pieces in there that Bungie engineers would know very well. And we're grateful to them for the legacy of code and invention that they set in front of us.
So Spartan Ops is kind of a unique component of this package because the rest of it has to ship on a disc and get out the door, but that's going to continue for many weeks after release. Are you guys way ahead of the curve on that stuff, or is that going to be kind of up to the minute, just sort of by the seat of the pants, getting those episodes done week by week as they're going out?
The gameplay and the geometry are all done. It's mostly the sort of episodic fiction, which is running just like a TV series. The beauty of that is it does give us time to tune and tweak and test the gameplay longer than we would have in a normal cycle, because you're right, it all would have had to be maintained on the disc as is. So this gave us just a little bit longer to tinker with that stuff, but the fiction is being done just like a TV series in that it won't even be finished when the first episode airs. We'll still be tuning and tweaking the CG on the last episodes once the November 6th rolls around. So.
By the time people see this interview, it's going to be about a week and a half from this recording, so I want you to predict for us what you think your mental state is going to be at that time.
A week and a half, I'm going to be in a pretty good mental state. But a couple of days after that, I'm going on the worst, most grueling press tour I've ever seen in terms of how it sits on my calendar. It doesn't even look possible. It looks like it's like The Amazing Race or something. You'll probably see me like rushing through various European airports, begging for dollars.
Nice. But so whether the game will be kind of close to wrapping up at that point, this insane crunch will be winding down.
The game's like 99% done now. It's just sort of getting it in shape for certification and then manufacture, and then just cleaning out last minute bugs and getting ready for launch. I mean, there's now parking spaces in the parking lot finally, like not a lot, but we've been, we have more people than parking spots, and it's a good sign when you see that parking spots are starting to free up.
Sure. Well, that's good to hear. I wish you guys much peace and sanity as you wrap the game up. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you.